Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from Delta CX. We're a full service CX and UX agency, and welcome to episode 101 of the podcast. I'm calling this one Cringeworthy Descriptions of Bad UX Jobs, Comedy and Tragedy. This is going to be a preview of the HR training you've been hearing for months that I've been writing. I still have one more chapter to write, so I'm running a little bit late, but I wanted to preview about 26 of my over 300 slides with you, just to see what questions you have, how you're reacting to them. This is the comedy and tragedy part of the presentation. I'm going to do the comedy and tragedy part, and then I'm going to skip ahead to much later in the program where I give the target audience my 7 rules for creating great jobs. Now, just to set the pace for this, you're coming in at like slide 170 something. So there's things I'm going to refer to that you have not already heard or seen. And you might be like, what? But just trust me. Also, note that the target audience for this training is HR, recruiters, sourcers, hiring managers, especially where the hiring manager does not come from CX or UX. So remember, I'm not necessarily talking to the CX UX audience. This is more for HR recruiters, sourcers, hiring managers. So let's say a quick hello to some of the people who've joined us early. We've got Charlene, who's already asking the 8-ball questions over in Twitch. Julia says, I'm in a meeting, but I'm leaving this open. I'm so excited. Okay, thanks, Julia, but don't mess up your job for it. And Chang's here. Good to see Chang. Says, happy 101st. Thank you. So I'm going to jump in on the slides. I'm going to keep the chat open on the side so that I can see it. It won't be on the screen, but I will watch it from time to time. So let me flip over to my slides. And let's jump around and jump on in. This is slide 175. So again, you've missed some things that come before this. So some things will lack context, but hopefully you'll run with it. And if you like this, feel free to show it to managers, HR. Tell them more's coming. Hopefully by the end of March, I'll have the entire training program up. It will be completely free because the world needs this. And I also wanted to premiere this because there's somebody out there who copycats me. Copycats. And I'm curious if I put this out, if this person will rush to create some sort of training program. And then we can all go, oh, yeah, we see you. We see you and you're unraveling. So here we go. Descriptions of bad jobs. Let's talk about descriptions of bad jobs. I don't mean that the job descriptions aren't written well enough. I mean that the job they're describing sounds ridiculous, impossible, like it's setting people up to fail, or it gives away that the company really doesn't understand CX or UX at all. We're going to go deep here so that you become a master at recognizing bad CX and UX jobs. This will help you help companies create better jobs. Remember, my target audience is HR recruiters, sourcers, hiring managers. It's a long chapter with a lot of examples, but I think that some of these truly bizarre jobs will give you a few laughs. It's informative and it's comic relief. Well, it's comedy and tragedy. I'm going to put up an icon for each type of role that the job requires. Each icon represents what could be someone's full-time job. So consider the stress you will put people under when you give them more than one full-time job to do and do well. I recommend that after this chapter, you look at your CX and UX job descriptions, draw some of my icons next to them, and reconsider if you have made fair jobs that have appropriate requirements, or if you are sending someone towards stress, burnout, and possible health issues. This refers to a slide that I showed earlier, so let me blow past it because it won't make sense. Okay, let's start here. Here's a job claiming to be UX UI in healthcare. They seem to care about CX since they're asking for UX expertise in interaction design showing depth of thought. Sounds like they plan to assess your proficiency and skill and not just how artsy you are. But they want you to be able to create what they call a wide range of graphics: 3D, 2D, prototype, animation. Well, not every artist or visual designer is a 3D animator. Not every CX practitioner is an artist or a 3D animator. This is a very tall order combining a lot of unrelated skills. This is a position for a UX researcher. Or is it? They want 5 years of experience, including previously having a lead title. A lead title is sometimes not given until someone has closer to 6 to 8 years of experience, but I'll let that one go. This job description quickly takes a sharp right turn as it asks you to, quote, do research, understand and analyze the research, but not heavy research, need a strong designer, end quote. Well, that sounds like research, but not that much research. And hey, wait, we need a CX architect. They want sketch, wireframing, and prototyping, which are all part of interaction design and not research. Hold on, because now they want visual design skills because you'll need to produce high-quality design artifacts and pixel-perfect design comps, which are all terms we use for visual design. I should also quickly give a warning here. If you are listening to the audio-only version of this, it's still going to be a wild ride, but you're not going to see all the logos I'm putting on the screen, so I do recommend jumping to the YouTube video for this one. This sounds like a heavy visual design job where other areas of CX are supposedly required but seem quite secondary. With a title of UX researcher, this seems like a bait and switch by the time you're halfway through the job description. More importantly, how often can we find a strong researcher, CX architect, and visual designer all in one? Whose workday will have the time to do all of these jobs? These jobs are often at companies that have low CX maturity and tend to rush CX to have final pixel-perfect pretty designs. Here's a job called UX designer. It answers to the IT director. You learned earlier, in a slide I'm not showing here, that rarely works out well for the CX practitioner or the product we deliver to customers. 2 developers will report to the UX designer. The UX designer is a non-manager job, but they will manage 2 programmers? Wireframes, mock-ups, and scripting. Okay, scripting means programming, which is engineering. Beautifully designed customer experiences. Okay, that's art. Lead the UX design team. Okay, so you're managing 2 programmers and leading the UX design team, but you won't get a lead title or pay? Interpret internal customer requirements. Interpret internal requirements sounds like, please just take orders and build what we've written down. To remind us of my earlier slide, which you didn't see today, about short order cooks being order takers, here's an icon of an egg. Here's an icon of an egg. Order takers just give the manager, stakeholder, client, or customer what they want. You want bacon and eggs? Here's bacon and eggs. Read the requirements, just give us that. No problem finding, not much problem solving. Yeah, sorry about it's an ugly egg. It's Font Awesome's egg. And it's because I have an earlier slide where I talk about order takers make you bacon and eggs when you ask for bacon and eggs. They're not necessarily problem finders and problem solvers. As Shannon is saying, just take the hippo orders. Yep. Wait, there's more to this job, everybody. A plus, but not required. HTML, CSS, JavaScript frameworks such as AngularJS, React or Ember, and back-end languages like C#, Java, and Python, which is a pile of engineering work and not CX. This job was for a user experience lead. Sounds good. The description wanted you to, quote, conduct comprehensive experience audits, pulling insights from analytics and SEO, end quote. An experience audit is normally something we do by reviewing a website, app, or system. We audit the experience. You can't audit an experience by looking at analytics or reviewing how SEO is going. This sounds like marketing, but really it's quite strange if not impossible. Next job thing they want says, conduct qualitative research such as competitive analysis, workshops, stakeholder interviews. Qualitative research is things like observational studies and interviews. This is where we talk to potential, current, or archetypal customers. If I had to read between the lines here, I would say that you're probably not going to be talking to customers. You will interview stakeholders to find out what they want and need. I'll put the egg icon up for being an order taker and the sticky note for facilitating workshops. I'm just checking the chat room here. Ahmed says it's the a plus but not required sections of job descriptions that kill me, honestly. Wait, there's more to this job, everybody. Lead definition, approach, and implementation of experience design, aligning with our experience design lead. Hold on. I thought this job is the user experience lead. I'm leading how experience design is done, but I have to align with someone else with the same job? Then who is leading what? Okay, I'm confused, but I'll put up the leadership icon. Next, the job says, champion principles of user-centered design and usability and know when to bend the rules. Wait, what? When would I bend the rules of usability and make something not totally usable? Why would I be championing things I'm not going to completely follow? I'm not sure what icon goes here, but I found this bent ruler. I'll go with that, but I'm not even sure what bending the rules of usability looks like other than making something that isn't usable. But wait, there's more. Partner with clients and account teams to create the best work, finding the intersection between client objectives and audience needs, and ensure that the focus remains on the integrity of the experience. What is the integrity of the experience? I think this also sounds like work with clients and account managers to make sure you give clients what they want. I will spin the order-taking egg. Articulate the UX vision clearly while listening and considering others' ideas across disciplines. Okay, so you need to come up with the UX vision, but listen to and consider others' ideas. I believe that is code for everybody's going to make UX decisions. You will need to accept that. I'll put up a footprint because I think they will walk all over you. The more I hear run workshops, listen to what others want, the more I think you're not going to be empowered. Kayleen says, I need a legend to follow all the icons. Yeah, I have a slide later where I show all of them, but not as a legend. And finally, there's more to this job. An online portfolio that demonstrates ability to create innovative solutions for complex problems, showing process, not just final product. I always hope that companies that write things like this actually assess your portfolio for innovation. You must have discovered and invented something nobody has ever seen or done before, or else we don't want you. This job was a director of UX. I'd love to have that job. I would love to lead a department, build teams, and establish CX and UX strategy at the project, department, and maybe even company level. So let's see what this job needs you to do. End-to-end experience and information design involving both digital and print resources. Okay, that's 100% artwork. Not only are you not directing people, but you're doing the day-to-day individual contributor work. You're going to make printed flyers. A quick break to respond to a comment. Someone from LinkedIn says, it looks like some HR needs training. That's very sad. This is a preview of some of the HR training that I'm writing. Today you will see 26 of over 300 slides. So there you go. And M324 says, why can't they just list out what the previous person did day to day? It might have been all of this. That's not an improvement. Let's continue with this director of UX job. Visual design for online applications and reporting tools. Development of data reports and visualizations for large and complex data sets. Visual design for support and product communications, including email, presentations, and print. This is production design. It sounds like you're going to make other people's reports, PowerPoints, and business cards. Let's put up an art icon and the order-taking egg icon. Develop assets, including flat screen design, design specifications, style guides, and interactive prototypes. Also, visual design. Has anybody seen any UX or directing in this job yet, other than they briefly mentioned prototypes? Ensure content is communicated as clearly as possible to drive audience engagement and action. Oh, well, that's content strategy and possibly writing. Develop and promote a consistent design framework consistent with branding and style guidelines. This job is consistently visual design. Employ best practices, including research and customer insights, wireframe and prototype development, design pattern libraries, and usability testing. Hey, that almost sounds like CX work. I'll give it the architecture icon. 5+ years of experience in digital design from ideation to delivery. Well, then this job should probably have the title of senior. There was nothing in here about leading people or teams or creating strategy, so this is an individual contributor job at the senior level. Passion for visual and information design. How do you assess a candidate for their passion about something? And finally, preferred knowledge or hands-on skill in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and related frameworks. Hey, why not write some code while you're here? Given that you're the director of UX and doing all of the visual, print, presentation design, UX research, wireframes, prototypes, and testing, you'll surely have time to write some code. Luckily, you will not need to spend any time leading, strategizing, or mentoring since this isn't really a director job. Messages from the chat room. How is this a UX director role? I love this. Thanks, Deb. I hate catch-all job ads. Here's a job a recruiter sent me. It was called UX Strategist. Understand the business needs and requirements from the marketing team and be able to articulate this information to the technology and web team members. I don't even know what icon to put up for that. I'm telling the technology team what the marketing team wants. I guess I'll put up a symbol for language translation. Collaborate with web development team to build new pages and optimize existing ones in Sitecore CMS to continuously improve the user experience. This sounds like data entry. They were offering $85 an hour. Do you want me entering content into the CMS, or can someone else do that? And saying that this continuously improves the user experience makes it sound like someone doesn't really know what the user experience is. Act as the final marketing approver for the publication of website pages from a content and UX perspective. I'm approving things for marketing? And they really need to stop throwing in things like UX perspective. We get it. You don't know what UX is. Utilize digital optimization, analytics, and testing techniques such as A/B testing, MVT, site heat maps, online review data, etc. to improve business performance for digital channels. Create user journeys across digital experiences end to end. Assist with the development of user personas that align with audience. This sounds like create research artifacts without doing research. And I'm assisting in making personas? Who else is making them? Develop scenarios, task flows, wireframes, and mockups to effectively conceptualize and communicate detailed interaction behaviors and high-level design strategies for all devices. Significant experience wireframing and prototyping principles. Strong knowledge of user-centered and web design principles. Moving on. UX UI front-end development skills. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Bootstrap. That's a coding job that should fall under engineering. Demonstrated ability to manage and prioritize multiple projects with great attention to detail. You're the project manager too. Well, you sure need to prioritize multiple projects. This job alone sounds like 7 jobs. Kayleen wants a scale icon to balance the opinions of multiple departments. That's a good one. And Shannon says, sounds like CRO. I think it does. Shannon, job for you. Here's another job. This is a UX UI design and development intern. You already know that's bad news since that's 3 jobs combined. Plus, this is an internship, which means that this person is probably a student with little or no work experience. Keep that in mind as you see what this internship is hoping that they can already do. What would be really cool of you to have, but not required? Experience creating mock-ups using tools such as Sketch, InVision, Figma, organic chocolate milk, etc. Experience creating user stories, flowcharts, and wireframes. So let's get the architecture and visual design icons up there since we know they want both. Experience using HTML and CSS, plus points for Sass, Vue.js, and or Django. That's coding and engineering. Experience working on enterprise-level experiences that span multiple channels such as web, mobile, and offline interactions. Wow, they're a student. They're applying for an internship. When would they have done that? Experience using design methods and user research data to influence business strategy and leadership. Well, let's get the research icon up there. And I need an icon for the magical ability for an intern to influence business strategy and leadership. Do you think this intern will really have the authority to do that? And hopefully you're also familiar with basic concepts of investing and finance. Looks like we start them early with unreasonable and bizarre jobs. But there's something on this screen that makes this job bizarre on a wild new level, and I noticed some people noticed it in the chat room. There is no such software or tool as organic chocolate milk. Yes, I'm serious. Google it. Did anyone else notice that? Charlene did. Charlene said, what's organic chocolate milk? Kayleen said, I see UX UI all the time in job descriptions, even in job descriptions that aren't as bad as this. M324 says, it is getting surprisingly hard to find a genuine UX role. Solomon says, I don't know, I'm biased. I don't think a director level UX person should be doing design work. Doesn't seem like best usage of their time. Yeah, Solomon's from LinkedIn, and LinkedIn's usually a few minutes behind. Switch to Twitch. But yeah, I agree as well. Kayleen says, I tried Googling organic chocolate milk. VJ says, I think they want an intern who is 40 years old. Ikening says, this is no unicorn, this is a 10-headed mutant. Shannon says, this is a grocery list. Emmy says, add underwater basket weaving to the list. So basically I'm going to move on to the next job. We have not reached the pinnacle of terrible jobs. So let's learn about some more. But yeah, organic chocolate milk, y'all. I hope they're going to assess your portfolio for your use of that non-existent tool. This job was for a junior UX and graphic designer. It required a degree or diploma in UX, UI, or web graphic design. 1 year of work experience preferred, but not required. They want a strong understanding of UX, UI, and of design and layout principles. They want the ability to brainstorm fresh and innovative ideas. Well, you better prove that you have fresh and innovative ideas. Will HR please assess this junior candidate for their ability to innovate? They want an organized approach to project file management. Okay, let's put up the project management icon. Experience creating wireframes and mock-ups. Well, they originally said experience was optional for this job, but now we're going to need experience. All right, make up your mind. Foundational knowledge of Git and command line tools. This just took quite a turn for the junior UX and graphic designer job. But swallow your coffee because they want Articulate 360, Storyline, and Rise. These are tools for learning experience design and instructional design, as in creating online courses and learning modules. They want HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which is coding. They want Webflow, which is a CMS system, and You had to be bilingual or speak some French. Sure, seems like a completely appropriate job for a junior with 1 year of experience or maybe 0 years of experience. Who wouldn't qualify for this? Let's see. Raheem says, I drink organic chocolate milk every day with my breakfast of sketch and hoops. Very good. LinkedIn person says, now they need knowledge in finance. Wow. And Shannon is facepalming. Okay, let's look at our next job. I got to crack my jaw. Hold on. It's not cracking. I'm stuck. Oh, hi, Stephanie. I'm happy to see you here. Stephanie seems to have put up garbage can fire icon. This job was for a lead user experience designer. Stick with me. Hey, Cassandra. Create and iterate rapidly on low-fidelity wireframes. Design artifacts such as journey maps, experience flow diagrams, and presentations to communicate your design approach and gain alignment across stakeholders. Sounds like they want research artifacts without research. Are you guessing at these? Since they lump this with sketches and wireframes, I will just put up the CX architecture icon. Research best practices in and around web applications to build features that meet the product vision along with addressing customer needs. So I'm not researching customers, I'm researching best practices. I'm always suspicious of job descriptions that list the product vision before the customer needs. You know which one will be a priority at this company. Let's put up the egg, since this sounds like it could end up an order taker job. Document design decisions with high-fidelity mockups and detailed descriptions. Okay, high-fidelity mockups are visual design. Drive your design decisions with data. Strategize and conduct meaningful user research, collect customer feedback, then synthesize and present your findings as design concepts. Oh, now I'm doing user research, which will be interpreted and presented as design concepts. Are you getting the feeling they don't totally know what CX researchers do or create? Perform usability testing to validate design directions and inform opportunities for improvement. Yeah, whatever. And lead by example. Do great work and help the people on your team learn how you do it. Let's get a crown in there for leadership and a graduation cap. Hold on, I've got mine handy. And a graduation cap in there for teaching. Fantastic. I'm expected to teach everybody on my team how to do my job. Who are these people on my team and why don't they know how to do a UX designer job? Are they in the CX department, outside of it? Is this mentoring? Or is this teaching everybody to do my job? I can't tell. Comments from the chat room. Charlene says, I don't know if I should laugh or cry. Solomon says, we want the unicorn of unicorns. Ikening says, we want someone who can do everything, but we're not sure what they need to do, but here are some buzzwords we found, so please do them. Cassandra says, hey, can you just do all the things we don't want to do? Thanks, LOL. yes to that. Wait, guys, there's more. This one is probably my favorite. It is. I'm going to take a drink. Now, this is just water with a little orange juice in it, but I'm going to need to drink, so hold on. All right. I hope I'm ready for this one. I hope you guys are ready for this one. M324 is already on it. Senior lead. Charlene says senior and lead. This one is one of my favorites. It's called Senior Lead UX Experience Architect. Based on that title, I expect a lot of information architecture. Swallow your coffee because I am going to put the entire job description on the screen in the tiniest font ever. Day-to-day, working in Azure to create portals for clients. Azure, which is not the UX prototyping tool Axure, is a cloud computing service for applications and services deployed through Microsoft-managed data centers. That's cloud, so that's DevOps. I'll put an icon for cloud. Just make a thing for the client sounds a little order taker-ish, so I'll also get our egg icon up. And by the way, I'll look at the comments when I'm done with this. This is a long slide, and then we'll look back at the comments. Whew. Creation of new dashboards and heavy UI UX utilizing wireframes. I love the idea of heavy UI UX, especially where UI UX is one of the most disrespected terms in our industry. And what is so heavy about this? Utilizing wireframes sounds so mechanical. Well, I'll put up the icons for CX architecture and visual design. Heavy public cloud, particularly Azure. So much heavy work at this very famous American telecommunications company. Setting up direct connects and VLAN. Oh, hold on, this is networking and more cloud. Setting up network connections to the cloud as well as to the local cloud region. Hey, did I mention cloud? Creating UX design principles and managing large-scale projects. I'll just put a picture here of Don Norman, the godfather of modern UX, since I'm evidently creating UX design principles. Oh, and I'm the project manager. Responsible for applying designs to the wireframe. Okay, that'll be visual design. Got that one. Updating, growing, and creating wireframes. Growing wireframes? This sounds like I will have to raise them like a child. Wireframes don't grow, everybody. Requesting where to take the platform while working on new dashboards. This one is just mysterious. So while you're making a dashboard, you should request new directions for the entire platform. I will put up the innovation icon. Working with solution architects to ensure solutions are properly grown. This company is really into growing things. I don't know what that means, but I'll give them an icon anyway. Must have 8 to 10 years experience in the following: Agile DevOps, Cloud CI/CD, Basic L2, L3 network principles. Well, that's TCP/IP networking. Product development. Not sure what that means. Do they mean creating the product? Do they mean developing it, as in engineering? For this job, I'm going to go with engineering. Portal and website design. Okay, you're a website designer, which isn't UX. The next one I had to Google since I didn't know what it was, but it turned out to be proprietary to this company. So to not say who this company was, I will just say it was famous company's internal CX model about customer touch points. Wow. How will I have had 8 to 10 years of that when I don't work at this company and probably haven't used or heard of their internal model? I'll just give that a brain icon because I couldn't find a crystal ball icon. Wireframe. Yep, maybe just one. Design/web. Sure, whatever that is. Azure or AWS experience. Yep, cloud again. Understanding of network, router, VLAN. Any cloud fundamentals, plus any cloud certifications. All right, now let's talk about this one. A recruiter had sent me this. I told him the hiring manager will probably be happy with a cloud and network engineer who likes to make wireframes. The recruiter told me he tried that already, but the manager is insisting that he get 100% of exactly what this job is asking for. The recruiter was really nice. I got the feeling he knows this job is beyond difficult, possibly impossible to fill, and impossible for one human to perform. I'll say it again. This is where you, in HR recruiting and sourcing, have to stop being an order taker. You have to advise this client that this job is completely unreasonable. First of all, it's more than one full-time job. Second of all, the number of skills they expect this person to have, and especially 8 or more years, is completely unreasonable. What will this person be doing day to day? How will they juggle all of this? This chapter of this training, wrong slide. This chapter of this training exists partially to remind you that these jobs set people up to fail. You will work for a manager who will be angry you didn't get those wireframes done. So you work on wireframes. Well, now you're not working on your LAN and your router. So you switch to networking. Well, now you're not getting clients' Azure portals created and grown. So you switch to that. These moving target jobs are awful for everybody and have to stop existing. I'd also like to mention that a very high-level UX leader at this company spoke with me at a 2019 conference. She is pushing design thinking really hard at this company. She's sure it's working and creating more respect for design. She wants to see design everywhere in the company. If a job like this is the product of evangelizing design thinking and let's put design everywhere, then it's another reason why I want design thinking to go extinct. If you skipped this training's chapter on aspirologies, which you did because I didn't go through it, which is my term for CX and UX trends that aren't really CX or UX and hurt our profession, please go back and watch that chapter. Okay, a couple of things in the chat room, and yeah, I think we're going to run late today. Don't forget to water your wireframes, people. You have to give them water so that they will grow, but not too much. Stephanie says, I killed succulents because of too much. Kayleen says, I found the job online. The title was changed to Lead User Designer DevOps Azure CI/CD. I'm not sure that's better. It hurts. Charlene says, Senior Lead UX Architect who also knows how to fix your internet. Stephanie says, I wonder if they saw UX Engineer job titles and thought UX was the new front end. Shannon says, are they paying for the 15 different jobs this is for? The salary's probably $50,000. Ekening says, you don't need to watch stand-up comedy shows. Just read UX job descriptions. Julia says, a front-end, back-end researcher designer. This might be the most insane job description I've ever seen. I guess it's very heavy on brand. Cassandra says, they're going to be looking for someone until the end of time. Shannon says, my husband is in IT and he doesn't do wireframes or web design. It's a different skill set. VJ says this was a job post to ensure they do not underutilize their job posting subscription and job portals. Great. More slides coming, everybody. I've got a handful more. I'm probably going to run late today. Let's talk about this design strategist job. Design strategist sounds like a job many of us would like to have. That was the title of this job. But you're going to plan and run workshops. You need to bring together various parties to design a solution. It's not for you to design a solution. You will facilitate group activities like persona building and journey mapping, which I mentioned in an earlier chapter that you didn't see today, shouldn't be stabbed at by non-experts. These important CX tasks should not be team craft projects. And most interestingly, they stress that the UX work is prototyping, but with less emphasis on final prototypes. So who does the final prototyping? There are brief mentions of research, but it sounds like you just need to do enough research to prepare for workshops and to make recommendations to clients. I'll put up the research icon, but I know that many workshop facilitator jobs don't assess your ability to do qualitative research thoroughly or correctly. Ultimately, this clearly isn't a CX or UX job. It doesn't even sound like a design strategy job. The word strategy was only in the title. No other mention of being strategic at the project level, the team level, the department level, or higher. There was nothing in here or in the rest of the job description that mentioned user-centered design or human-centered design. The brief mention of UX prototypes was the only mention of UX in the entire job description. An agile coach with a design thinking facilitation certificate who can use InVision for quick but unrealistic prototyping would qualify for this job, right? But is that who should strategize design at this or any company? So I've posted the icon for workshops and a little bit of research, but nothing else seemed to really be architecture, deep research, data science, visual design, or anything else. These are only mentioned in the context of design thinking workshops where CX is often skimped on or greatly reduced. Though I like the part that says, we need help finding gaps in the design thinking process. Someone send this company to me. I have hours of content on that one. A job description like this reminds us that design thinking and all this workshop stuff isn't CX or user-centered design. There's just almost nothing that's CX or UX about this job. It's not design, it's not strategy, it's just a workshop facilitator. We have truly jumped the shark when in December 2020, a famous American bank has an open job for an insights and empathy consultant. When you hear that title, what do you imagine that this person does day to day? The ad starts by wanting CX research skills. The ad continues by describing CX research skills and activities. And they want you to have at least 2 years of experience with digital banking, either from work, military, or education. So I'll put up the icon for domain experience in finance. Interestingly, they will count education as experience. So if you took a 2 years master's degree, you would be qualified for this job even if you have no real work experience and haven't yet had your first job. Or perhaps you did digital banking in the military? What? Hey, military and ex-military low-ego action heroes, which roles in the military work on digital banking? Neither the word insight nor the word empathy appeared in the job description at all. The first line says it best. You'll do UX research. There's no reason to not give this person a title like CX researcher. Calling this person an insight magician or an empathy consultant or the like doesn't improve understanding and respect of what we do. This job belittles itself and will be a disrespect magnet because it's been attached to buzzwords and trends rather than the core of what this is. Scientific research based in psychology and behavior. This job was for a UX writer who must know Sketch and design low-fidelity prototypes. Okay, so some sort of combination of CX writer, CX architect, and CX visual designer. They will coordinate and synthesize user interviews and on-site visits. Okay, now they're also a researcher. This job wanted experience writing for interfaces on the functional UI side and the product marketing side. Sounds like a CX writer, but still sounds kind of strange. The job description asked for maybe a journalism background, since those people would be comfortable doing interviews and they can just learn Sketch. Well, what can't this person do? Ex-journalist turned CX researcher, designer, and writer. Then the job description said, ambition and an entrepreneurial spirit triumphs experience and specialization. That's another character over credentials moment. The guy who posted this to LinkedIn requires a bunch of very specific skills and experience, but then acts like it's more important to have someone ambitious. And do you need entrepreneurial spirit and ambition, or do you have to be an actual entrepreneur? There's a hidden message in jobs like these. If you fail at this job, you must not have been ambitious enough. All of these jobs should have sounded unreasonable to you. These jobs set people up to fail. They set people up for failure, burnout, and possible mental and physical health issues. Will you be held accountable for doing all of these tasks every job wants to pile on? Will you be held accountable for doing them well? How will you juggle and prioritize all of the tasks these jobs claim to require? Many sounded like you'll need to do them at the same time. How will you get all of that done? And when you struggle to get it all done well and on time, will your job tell you that you didn't want this enough? Will they tell you you didn't work hard enough? Will they tell you you're doing a bad job? Will someone be filing HR paperwork on how you need a performance improvement plan because you're not getting the jobs of 3 or more people done on time, plus spare time to help marketing with some illustrations? We must stop doing this to people. You wouldn't want this done to you. You weren't happy when it was done to you. Please don't let it happen to others. Brian says, we just need to go back to doing solid UCD. Journeys and blueprints should be an output of the designer from their synthesis of UCD activities and not by committees of non-designers. Agree. Ekening says, who comes up with these things? Oh my goodness, so many typos. I'm glitching. Don't worry about it. I'm going to jump ahead. This is slide 190, and I'm going to jump ahead to slide, this is much later in my presentation. And this is slide 267. And this is where I give my rules for creating jobs. So this is kind of like almost summing up at the end. But then after this, I'll have a chapter on apprenticeships based on what you just saw. So let's talk about my rules for creating great CX jobs. Rule 1. In the earlier chapter on describing bad jobs, which you just saw part of, you saw a job description for someone who wanted a worker to do UX, visual design, web design, DevOps, cloud engineering, network engineering, innovation, project management, and more. In one job. These jobs set people up to fail. You're probably never doing the right thing at the right time because there isn't time to juggle everything the job is responsible for. One day, your manager might be angry that you didn't get those wireframes done, so you work on wireframes. Well, now you're not working on your LAN and router, so you switch to networking. Well, now you're not getting your client's Azure portals created, so you switch to that. Well, now you're not doing your visual design. You can see the moving target that is created when a job combines too many part-time and full-time jobs where they all sound like top priorities and mission-critical work. When building a job description, remember my target audience for this is HR, recruiters, things like that. When building a job description, try using icons like I did in the description of bad jobs chapter to see when a job is trying to glue together too many skills or jobs. You'll quickly realize that the job requiring CX research, information architecture, interaction design, prototyping, testing, and more is a moving target. How will that worker ever be working on the right thing at the right time when they're responsible for so many tasks? These moving target jobs are awful for everybody and must go extinct. They can lead quickly to burnout as well as mental and physical health issues. They can lead to self-doubt about being capable. They can lead to disrespect from teammates who just see a struggling person who can't get their job done. Hey, it's just a job. Why can't you get it done? Well, it's multiple people's full-time jobs. Let's improve this before these workers are showing up to HR teams because of health, burnout, stress, anxiety, or an exit interview. Rule 2. If you're not assessing for it, it's not in the job. This is to me my favorite new rule, but I made it up. If you have a long list of skills, but you're not going to check if the candidate can do these things, take those skills out of the job description. Many CX and UX jobs like to ask for research, writing, information architecture, interaction design, prototyping, visual design, front-end coding, and marketing. But typically, someone checks the resume for the word design and decides this person must be great. Or they glance at the portfolio, see some pretty screens, and decide this person must be great. You had that huge list of skills that you wanted, and you only checked for one skill. That has to stop. You could be hiring incompetent people without realizing it. If you're not going to check if I'm any good at something, take it off the job description. If you're not going to check if I'm good at information architecture, then don't make my role responsible for information architecture. If you're only going to check my visual design work, then this is a visual design job that requires no other skills. The rest are removed from the job description. You think you want a jack of all trades or a unicorn, but if my resume claims I can do all of these things, but I'm actually bad at them, or I'm still learning them, do you really want me? Did you need someone who claimed they could do all these things, or did you actually need someone who could do all of these things? You won't know if this is a claim or reality if you're not assessing the skills. If you actually need someone who can do all of these things, then you assess for every skill. You check the candidate's abilities and proficiency in every important skill. If you don't really need someone who has skill in these areas, what are you doing? What the heck job is this that you don't need skill and proficiency in the tasks you expect this role to do? If you add multiple skills to roles and never assess if the candidate is good at them, you're probably hiring unqualified people. Hiring unqualified people is a waste of time, money, and morale. If you're not going to have experts assess a particular skill, it doesn't go in the job description or role. Rule 3, play to specialties and strengths. There's a term in the job universe called T-shaped. People are trying to make it mean a unicorn or a jack of all trades, but that's not the original definition. Originally, someone who was T-shaped or had T-shaped skills meant that they had one area of core expertise, their main specialty, what they're best at. This is represented by the long bar of the letter T. It's where someone's skills are the deepest. Wikipedia says the horizontal bar is the ability to collaborate across disciplines with experts in other areas. Well, anybody can collaborate with anybody, whether or not they have skill or knowledge in those domains, so I wouldn't agree with that definition. The more common definition I've seen is that the short bar of the T represents someone's subspecialties, something that isn't their core strength, but is still something they're quite good at. This is where someone's skills are a little broader, but are still strong. You could hire them to perform tasks in these areas of subspecialty because they're that good at them. They're strategic and getting it done with science and technique. This model of the T-shape is a good one to remember. Even where you might need multiple skills, competencies, or abilities, you are still looking for skill, competency, and ability in specialties and subspecialties. Stay away from trying to find jacks of all unicorns. Rule 4, mind the gate. The gate is that one or two skills or qualities that you require so strongly that it won't matter what else this candidate can do. Sometimes the gate is completely reasonable, like you must have military clearance at a certain level, and you can't consider anybody without that clearance. Very often, the gate in CX and UX jobs is completely unreasonable. It's often things like a professional art portfolio for a job that doesn't or shouldn't require art, like a researcher. Very few CX jobs require art, so be careful of slamming the door on great candidates who aren't artists. If you need an artist, hire a specialist artist. Then let everybody else do their specialized jobs and let artists do visual design work. Sometimes the gate requires years of experience with a certain piece of software. The gate is closed unless the candidate has been using Figma for at least 2 years. But is the candidate any good at using Figma? More importantly, is the candidate any good at tasks that might incorporate Figma? Are we assessing how well the candidate does interaction design work that takes information architecture, accessibility, and other aspects of science and technique into account? Or are we just checking how many years they happen to use a tool most people can learn in a day? Having years of Figma or Sketch won't matter if you're bad at interaction design. The tool doesn't make you a better interaction designer. The software is just one of many ways to express your work. I could buy the most expensive drill at the hardware store. I'll still be a pretty awful carpenter. Having tools or using tools doesn't mean you're great at the craft. Therefore, Rule 4 of creating better jobs is to make sure that any gate that will keep candidates out makes sense for the role and its duties. Quick things, let's see. How many slides do I have? Over 300. I've had lead tell me the core expertise for a UX designer is UI what? No. VJ, perfect explanation of the T. Thanks for the refresher. And they quit that job. Cool. Okay, Rule 5. Now that you created a great job that is doable by one person, give them the right title. Right, Brian? Not everybody is a UX designer or a product designer. I covered this in a previous chapter that you're not seeing here today. But please now consider it a rule to give the job the correct title. No more lazy titles that have nothing to do with the job. Don't call it a design strategist if it's just another do-everything unicorn job. That's not strategic for the company, it's not strategic for the job, and it's the wrong title for those jobs. No more mid-level UX designer when this is a lead CX architect. No more CX director when this is an associate CX researcher or senior visual designer. If you're having trouble finding the right title for the role probably needs serious revision because it's combining so many jobs that you're not sure what to call it. Put up my icons and see if you've gone too far. refine the job, and then find the right level and title. Rule 6. The job description must state the pay or pay range. Please stop playing the game of chicken where you're going to ask me what I'm making or what I expect to make. You're hoping that I will name a number lower than your number and you can get away with paying me less. There are so many problems with this game. If you pay me less than what others at my level are making, and I later find out what my coworkers are paid, will I feel cheated? Will I want to quit? Studies show that not all, but many women and minorities are not as good at negotiating salary. Do you want to take advantage of these people to save the company a little money? If you win the game and pay someone less, does this match your diversity, equality, and inclusion values? Or did you just undo your own values? If the top of your range is way less than I make now, I can save your time and my time by never applying. That way, I'm not getting my hopes up for the job. I'm not taking time off my current job to try to interview at a job I'll never take because it doesn't pay enough. Another problem with this game is that some people do have room to negotiate, but we start high. When I start high, sometimes I'm told that my number is too high, but now they don't want to consider me as a candidate. I'm done. I normally tell them I'm flexible, I can work for less. I'm then told that even if I got the job there, they consider me an immediate flight risk because they assume I will keep looking for the job that pays the higher number. Wow, talk about a huge display of lack of trust for me. And how sad that you think my only priority or criterion is the pay. The guess the pay rate game sucks and everybody loses. The reality is that you know what you can pay. You have an exact number or a pay range in mind. I have never heard of a company budgeting to create a new job, but having truthfully no idea what they will pay that person. It could be any number on the planet, and there's no possible range. Of course you know what this will pay, or at least you know the range. Just be honest about this. Jobs clearly indicate pay ranges. That's the rule. And if this is a contract or freelance, please indicate where you can accept corp to corp. I sometimes won't bother with a contract or freelance job that won't pay my corporation. The hourly rate to my corporation and to me personally end up very different numbers. Give candidates the same upfront honesty you hope the candidate will give you. State the pay or range upfront. Couple of comments popping up here. Nicole, hi, good to see you, says, what is the difference between a product designer and UX designer? Is it the same thing? And product designer is a job title that's more in vogue. Nicole, you should probably see my old live stream podcast on job titles. Go to YouTube, look up Delta CX job titles. You'll find it. Brian says, I've gotten pissed playing that game and have just asked them to tell me what everyone in the design department makes, and I'll tell them what my salary requirement is. They don't like it. Let's see. Jason's here. Hi, Jason. He says, in Colorado, a new law went to effect January 1st, 2021, requiring employers to list a pay range in their job descriptions. Fantastic. I hope that more will. There's, I think, 2 more slides I'm going to show you, and then we'll wrap up for today. So keep the comments and questions coming. But since we're almost out of time, if you have any comments or questions, get them in the chat room now so I can speak to them after the last 2 slides. Rule 7, hold us accountable. Every CX worker must be held accountable for their work and their part of a project. How will you assess job success or failure? Many CX practitioners are hired into jobs and never learn how they're being measured or what goals their job has for them. If you're starting to understand how often CX work and roles are misunderstood, you can also imagine how poorly individual job goals and performance criteria are decided or explained. Therefore, it's important for the hiring manager to decide upfront how they will measure this worker's performance and communicate that during the interview and the job. How will you hold CX accountable? How can you tell the difference between the wrong worker, the wrong process, the wrong culture, etc.? The side effects of holding CX workers accountable include removing and reassigning people who are unqualified or doing a poor job. Someone who's trying to fake it until they make it won't last long at your company if you're holding them accountable. They'd be faking it, you'd be noticing that, and they would be removed. You probably fire programmers who repeatedly write poor code. Few companies are firing a CX or UX worker for doing CX or UX work badly, but it should be possible to lose your job by doing your job badly. Another side effect is that we will learn if we didn't give CX the resources to do a good job. If you're not giving us the time, budget, headcount, and budget and headcount and other resources to do a good job, this will come to light when we're held accountable, and someone will have to do something to improve that. Another side effect of being held accountable is that teammates would respect us more. We would then be important enough to be held accountable if something about the project or our work went wrong. If CX were held accountable, nobody would want to guess at my work. Non-CX roles would not want to badly interview customers. Non-CX roles would not want to sketch screens. It's fun to sketch screens, but if we held those people accountable for crappy screens, they might actually want to leave our work to us. Very often, product managers, engineers, and others want to make CX decisions or overrule ours. We would like them held accountable for the decisions they make. If they make a decision that leads to customer dissatisfaction, poor ratings, more support tickets, customers leaving, etc., heads should roll. And if heads could possibly roll, I bet these roles wouldn't want to make decisions in our area of specialty. This would increase our autonomy and our ability to make decisions in our own domain. All of these individually and together would improve culture and collaboration. A bonus side effect of holding us accountable at our jobs is that boot camps, educational programs, and even university degree programs would have to change. They won't be able to rush unskilled people out and flood the market. They will have to have standards for who gets in, who's doing good work, and who gets to graduate. You can fail plumbing and hairdressing schools, but somehow nobody fails out of UX schools. Everybody gets a certificate. This would change if schools knew that we would be held accountable for the quality of work we do at our jobs. While jobs aren't holding UX accountable, boot camps have run wild with having unqualified instructors teach the wrong things the wrong ways. Start holding us accountable for the quality of our work, and educational programs not focused on the quality of our work will have to change or die. And that is it for the slides I was going to show today. So we'll just catch up a little bit with questions and comments in the chat room, and then we will have to sign off. I hope this was enjoyable. I would love to get comments on it as I'm still writing this program. I need to write the apprenticeship program based on the previous episode I did on apprenticeships. And then I'll be recording it in my home studio, packaging it up as a giant video course and releasing it for free. I don't want to hear, oh, we couldn't budget for your course, so no one's taking it. This is too important, so I'm putting this out there for free. Julia says, see if I can put these up on the screen. What would you say the ratio of companies getting job descriptions right versus wrong is? Is it rare or common to find a company that gets it? Sorry if this was asked, I was in a meeting. No, it wasn't asked. I am having so much trouble finding a good job description because I want part of my training to say, here's a good job description. I'm having trouble finding one. I think I'm going to have to make a fake one and go, here's a good job description, but I had to make it up because I haven't found one. So if anybody finds good ones, send them over to me so I can include them, anonymously in the training. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Oh, I'm not getting YouTube comments on my screen today. But I can see Quesia, if that's your name, says, what are your opinions on design challenges for junior designers with a small portfolio? Totally against them. This training will cover that. And if you go to YouTube and type Delta CX design challenges. I think there's 2, 3, 4 videos with my opinions on that. So there's plenty of stuff for you to watch, including an episode we did, 1 or 2 with Joel Barr. Let's see. Here's the link to Debbie's video that talks about the difference. Today's session was fun. Applause. Your New York accent is wonderful. Makes me feel nostalgic. Thank you, darling. It's so important to love yourself. That was something I was telling someone about yesterday, an audiobook that the author wanted read in a New York accent, but it was like a self-help book. So it was like, you have to learn to love yourself. It's so important to love yourself. And I was like, ooh. It sounds condescending. Any other questions, comments, improvements you think I can make to that? Because again, this is still a work in progress, but I wanted to put at least some of it out there to get some reactions. And of course, the comedy and tragedy of these painful, painful job descriptions. But ultimately, my training program will focus on what do CX and UX do? What are the right job titles for us? How do you assess if someone's good at what we do or not? What are some questions someone can ask? How do we review portfolios? Why you should start an internship program and an apprenticeship program. So ultimately, that's where I'm going with all of that. And again, it's going to be aimed at HR, recruiters, sourcers, and hiring managers, especially when the hiring manager does not have a UX or CX background, and so they're maybe trying to make their first hire or build a team, and they kind of don't know what we do. Let's see. So if there's no other comments, that I'm going to wind down and maybe play us out of here. I do have some phone calls coming up in about 25 minutes. I'll stick around a few extra minutes. Let's see. Kayleen says, not much to say in terms of the slides. There's so much good in there. I guess there are lots of icons to remember. Yeah, and of course, part of the idea is you don't have to memorize the icons. Someone who takes the training can always look at that, and maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I'll make like a downloadable PDF of, Deb's icon madness, and that way people can use it as a cheat sheet. Yes, so thanks, Kayleen. Good idea. That's Kayleen's, everybody. Kayleen's idea to do that, and I will do it. You do not have to memorize those icons. I think I ended up with 20 of them. Or no, I think I ended up with 34 of them? There were a lot on that screen. Wilson says, what's the training you're talking about? I joined the stream late. Okay, quickly. This was part of a huge HR training program that I've been writing that I hope will be ready in the next 3-4 weeks. It is aimed at HR, recruiters, sourcers, staffing companies, and hiring managers who don't have a UX or CX background to help them understand what we do, what we don't do, why jobs tend to be terrible for us and we're flight risks and sometimes don't stay very long, what types of cultures are awful for us, why you don't want to do design challenges, how to assess someone's LinkedIn and portfolio, some good interview questions to ask, why you want to start an apprenticeship program. It's over 300 slides at this point, so it's probably going to be a 4-hour video course, a 5-hour video course. And once it's all done, I'm going to make it free because I don't want someone to say, oh, we couldn't afford your training, so we're not going to take it. I just want to make it free so that people will freaking take it. And I'll give them a lovely certificate of completion, which everybody loves to collect certificates of completion, and everybody will want to take it. So there you go. I hope that helps. Any other last questions before we wind up? Because again, I'm running over time, but thanks to everybody for sticking around a little bit late and hanging out through the super wacky slides, the comedy and the tragedy. I should have said it was a drinking game, and every time I say JavaScript, you go, oh God, help, no. So again, really quickly, don't forget to follow us on Twitch, deltacx.com, all written out. And if you're on YouTube, hit the like button so the algorithm knows this was pretty good. You can also join our live Slack workspace, which is totally free. And of course, I have the tip jar, which funds delicious cakes and delicious cheese, which you can tell from me putting on a pound or two, I'm still eating. And and Nicole says, what's the giveaway link? So if you're in Twitch, type !giveaway, and the system will tell you how to enter the giveaway. I'm going to do a different giveaway each month, and you only need to enter yourself once per month. So if you've entered for the February giveaway, then there you go. The February giveaway will be one of my special edition hardcover full color printed books, personally signed by me to you and shipped from me. So that will be the February giveaway, and I will pick a winner in early March, and I'll reveal the winner on the March 2nd office hours. And of course, I'll contact the winner directly probably through Twitch as like a whisper, which is I think what they call a private message. I'm still learning. Shannon says we would have been wasted if this was a drinking game. Well, you can always watch this one back on a Friday night and pour your favorite whatever and go for it whenever I put up an icon that isn't CX architecture or research. Woo! All right, I'm going to play us out of here, but just a reminder that next week there's lots of great stuff coming. I hope everybody will mark their calendars. And I think many of you heard that the Three Musketeers of Debbie and Darren and Dr. Nick are going to start doing a monthly office hours. That's going to start in April. It'll be the second Tuesday of every month. So join us on Monday for an information architecture podcast with well-loved information architect Abby Covert. Tuesday, office hours. Wednesday, March 3rd, people-pleasing versus self-advocacy with Dr. Seth Finkel, psychologist. Let's see, Monday the 8th, we're going to talk to Julia DeBari about boot camps. She has taught at 7 of them, evidently. March 9th, office hours, Ask Me Anything. March 10th, no broadcast. It's going to be the Slack group live networking. So join the Slack group if you want to be part of the live networking. Nothing planned for March 15th, but Tuesday, March 16th is going to be comedy office hours where my friend and comedian Russell Bowers is going to give comedy answers to your questions before I give serious answers. He is a radio host on the Canadian broadcasting company's Daybreak Alberta. You can Google that. And I also want to remind everybody, Tuesday the 23rd will also be a special office hours Ask Us Anything with beloved author Steve Portugal. So lots of good stuff coming in March. And my friend is asking, where did I meet my boyfriend? And the answer is OkCupid. All right. Yes. Kayleen says, cannot wait for the Three Musketeers. You will have to wait a little bit since the next one will be April 13th. But considering it's almost the end of February, I think we can all agree time is flying. So on that note, I'm going to play us out of here and get ready for my call at the top of the hour. Thanks to everybody for hanging out and sticking around. Don't forget to follow us on Twitch. I'm definitely going to start using more of Twitch's features. So if you are on LinkedIn or YouTube, if you're able to sign up through Twitch, which is free and easy to do, I hope you'll start joining us on Twitch. The delay there is really short, which makes this a little bit more of a conversation, and it's got some fun features that I plan to take more advantage of, which YouTube doesn't have. Sorry, YouTube. But everything will still be archived on YouTube, so you can always find old recordings there. All right, I'm getting out of here. Thanks again, everybody. Have a good end of your week and weekend. Stay safe and stay warm wherever you are. And I will catch you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Delta CX, available for CX and UX consulting, projects, and training. Contact us for a free consultation.